What's up, Chicago? Justin Fields here. Excited to be a part of the organization, and I'm ready to get to work. Bear down.
Hey, listen, man. It's Cam Newton here. Hey, best player in high school football right here. If you're a high school player and you watching this, you know it's the truth. If you doggone a recruiter for anything, this the best thing any recruitment can get you right here. I'm Cam Newton and I approve this message.
With the 11th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the My Chicago Bears select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
Well, just, the overall accuracy of the football at times. There's just too many easy throws, should be slam dunk completions where it's not even close to being a completion.
Indiana, he wasn't that impressive. Game against Northwestern, he wasn't deemed that impressive. You have critics looking at him right now, questioning to some degree his accuracy.
I have heard that he is a last guy in, first guy out type of quarterback, like not the maniacal work ethic. And I've heard that there are some questions with Justin Fields' work ethic, okay?
I feel bad for Justin Fields. Like this situation this is where quarterbacks have gone to die.
From being a nobody out of millions of high school football players and not getting his first varsity start to his junior year, it's crazy to believe that within a year he blew up and was ranked as the #2 best player in the state of Georgia and in the nation behind Trevor Lawrence, who had a 2-year head start. The summer before his senior year, he took awards home from multiple camps, even winning MVP at the Elite 11 over the #1 ranked Trevor. But the mind-blowing facts don't stop there. He committed, then decommitted, committed to another school to stay home, then transferred 8 hours up north and completely took over as the new kid in town. Justin has had a long, eventful journey within his football career. And the 10 teams that overlooked him in the 2021 draft and all the sports analysts that bashed him wasn't the first time he was doubted as the great player he is. Hey, quickly, drop a like for me below if you believe your favorite team is going to make it to the playoffs this year. Let's see how many of y'all really have faith in your team. Justin was born March 5th, 1999 in the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. Growing up in an athletic household, Justin was very competitive from the start of time, which may explain why he made some of the decisions he made later on in life, but we'll get to that later. His father, who was now retired from the Atlanta Police Department, was a star linebacker at Eastern Kentucky, but not having his dad around to give him that discipline he needed is why he didn't take it far. So he instilled that discipline into Justin that he wished he had growing up, even if it caused some embarrassment. Don't quote me on it, but it's rumored that when Justin got a C in 6th grade, his dad took him to Walmart. He bought him a sweatsuit 2 sizes too small and the granddaddy ones, the all Velcro joints. He made Justin wear those in shame for 3 weeks. And after that, he never brought another C home on his report card. Looking back at it, Justin says he is thankful for his father's tough love. But Justin was so competitive at a young age that he would race his dad to the car to see who can put their seatbelt on faster. Of course, his father would always take the W, but little Justin never gave up. His first choice of sport was baseball, where he first started playing around 3 or 4 years old. His athletic genes helped him stand out from all his peers, being the star on each team he played on and against. Only up until high school, where things started to slow down for him. Surrounded by more than just his neighborhood talent, he was no longer the tallest, fastest, or most athletic on the football field at least, but he was still doing his thing on a diamond for the varsity baseball squad, which helped him a lot develop his skills in between the white lines. You probably know about Justin sitting behind Jake Fromm at Georgia, but that wasn't the first time he was on the roster as the backup guy. He was pulled up to varsity as a sophomore and played behind the starting junior, but he remembers his first time getting in as a sophomore, all he heard was boos from his own student section, chanting to put the starter back in. And with the pressure from his own home crowd, he performed horrible in that game, throwing ducks into the ground nowhere near the receiver. After that sophomore year though, things started to change. He took that whole summer and dedicated towards developing his skills. Ron Veal, his personal quarterback coach since the 6th grade, who also trained Trevor Lawrence, said Justin really wanted to be a good quarterback. Over the remainder of his sophomore year into the summer, he grew about 5 inches. And all that stuff he was working on, his sets, his drops, his movements, throwing on the run, all that stuff started to get better. And now he had the size, the height, and the strength to dominate in the upcoming year. The kid who was just a number on the football team with no offers was about to take over and shock not only himself, but the fans as well. He grew to 6'2", 210 pounds, and began his junior year with a bang. He won the job, and in his first game, his first pass went for a 60-yard touchdown. He accounted for 5 touchdowns that game, 4 passing and 1 rushing. And the piece of confidence he had lost dating back to his sophomore year was now coming back together. And the boos started to turn into cheers all across the stadium. Justin completely dominated as a junior, having one game where he threw for 822 yards and 6 touchdowns. Finishing that year losing in the playoffs, he still completed 67% of his passes for 2,700 yards and 23 touchdowns. Having a breakout year like that, you would think letters and the phone calls would start coming in, but his recruiting process started very slowly. Until he started to take matters into his own hands. The high school quarterback that had the entire state of Georgia already cheering for him was about 20 miles away at a different school and went by the name Trevor Lawrence, who went in and took things over as a freshman on the varsity squad and was highly ranked as a pro-style quarterback. But now, it was time for Justin to climb those ranking charts so the offers could start coming in. 2017 summer, Justin was at every camp possible, from Cam Newton's 7-on-7 camp to the Rivals and even getting an invite to the Elite 11. Many had already projected the superstar Trevor Lawrence was going to take home the MVP award. Justin was not backing down from the competition though. While at the camp, they even gave him the nickname Silent Assassin because he was a quiet kid who wasn't there to make friends but to win the tournament, and that's exactly what he did. On day 1, they faced off in a 7-on-7 match, and it was Justin who was victorious, leading his team to a 26-0 victory, throwing 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, struggled a little bit with no touchdowns and 1 interception. On day 2, Justin repeated the previous day performance with another 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions as he led his team to a 35-6 victory. He went on to the finals and again dominated, throwing 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, as his team took home the 7-on-7 title and Justin being named the MVP. And just as expected, he climbed those ranking charts. ESPN now had Justin ranked as number 1 out of the top 300, and 24/7 Sports had him second behind Trevor in the state and in the nation. After that eventful summer, it put him in the spotlight and the offers really started to pile up, which got him featured on the Netflix series QB1 Beyond the Lights, as they followed him and his team around over the summer into his senior season. Justin was so determined to make something of his name, and he took that entire summer and continued to hone in on his craft. He got off to a great start in his senior year, throwing for 10 touchdowns over the first 4 weeks. But late into the season, in a game that was nationally televised on ESPN, he suffered a broken finger that ended his senior year. And as you can see, at a tough time for him, he never gave up on his team and continued to help coach up the backup sophomore QB and cheered on his team. He still showed up to each practice after that game until the season ended. He helped the young backup with his reads and gave him other tips and pointers that he learned up until that point from all the camps he attended. All in all, the 5-star recruit totaled 4,100 passing yards, just a little over 2,000 rushing yards, and 69 total touchdowns, while leading Harrison to a 16-4 record as a 2-year starter. He earned multiple state and national honors during his time, including 2 straight All-State selections and being named Mr. Georgia Football as a senior. Justin had originally verbally committed to Penn State back in December 2016, but 6 months later, in June 2017, he reopened his recruitment after getting those camp invites and even said that it was a tough but just a decision that he had to make.
That was probably one of the toughest phone calls I had to make. I really didn't like doing it, so, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to do what's best for you and your family.
Out of the 30+ offers he received and places he could have for sure started as a true freshman, he chose to stay home and attend Georgia, where the competition was only going to get tougher. Jake Fromm had just led the Bulldogs to a SEC championship against Auburn and onto the 2018 national championship as a true freshman, even though they lost to Alabama in a close 26-23 game. So from the start, Justin was putting himself in a tough situation as to if he was going to be able to go in and play right away or not. He said he never wanted promises of the starting position, but just wanted a fair shot and knew he was going to have to come in and put work in and compete every day over the 2018 spring and summer if he wanted to win the starting job. Jake ended up keeping his spot and started all 14 games, leaving Justin as the backup guy once again. His frustrations watching from the sideline quickly began to grow. Early in the season, in a 41-17 road win over South Carolina, he was overheard voicing his anger with his role on the team. After getting put in and taking right back out immediately, leaving the field, he said to redshirt freshman Eric Stokes, "I handed the ball off good as I didn't do shit, bro."
I handed the ball off good as fuck. I didn't do shit, bro.
But in the 12 games he saw action that season, he completed 27 of 39 passes for 328 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He also rushed for 296 yards and 4 more touchdowns. The rumor of him transferring quickly began to circulate, and his last time taking the field as a Bulldog came against Alabama in the 2018 SEC Championship game on a 4th and 11 fake punt play that went completely wrong.
Decommitted. And it's a fake. Justin Fields. Oh my gosh. It was 4th and 11.
He entered his name into the transfer portal just 2 weeks after that loss, saying it was kind of hard week to week knowing how much playing time he would get. But he gave thanks to Jake and the coaches for the learning experience he had while he was there. When Justin first entered the transfer portal, he knew he was going to Ohio State because he had already built some of a relationship with Coach Ryan Day back in high school to his recruiting days. Plus, a day later, Coach Day gave him a call and told Justin he had a spot for him, with Dwayne Haskins declaring for the draft, so it only made sense for him to go. Normally, it's required to sit out 1 year due to NCAA transfer rules, but he hired attorney Thomas Mars, who helped secure immediate eligibility for several transfers from Ole Miss back in 2018. Thomas and Justin argued that he should be granted a waiver for immediate eligibility due to a NCAA guideline that waives the 1 year waiting period for athletes with documented mitigating circumstances that are outside the student athlete's control and directly impact the health, safety, and well-being of the student athlete. Because on September 29th, 2018, back when Justin was a part of the Georgia football team, an incident happened in which Georgia baseball player Adam Sassers directed a racial slur at Justin, which got Adam dismissed from the team the following week.
The University of Georgia dismisses one of its baseball players after he allegedly yelled racial slurs during last week's football game.
A student at the University of Georgia writes, "Today at the game, there was a guy sitting near my friends and I that decided to yell out, 'Put that racial slur in the game.' He's being accused of shouting racial slurs to quarterback Justin Fields. Multiple reports say the person the student was referring to is Adam Sasser."
The incident fell under the NCAA guideline, and Justin was granted to play right away. He hit the ground running up in Ohio and never looked back. In Florida Atlantic. At that very moment, everyone knew he was going to be a special player record that season. Johnson in the Big Ten championship game that earned the Buckeyes a spot in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Competing against his hometown buddy again, but this time on a much bigger stage. In the 2019 Fiesta Bowl against Clemson, he had 320 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions in the 29-23 loss. But he still balled out that year. He was a Heisman finalist and finished the season with 2,300 yards, 41 passing touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions, to go along with 480 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, which got the attention from NFL scouts. Due to what happened last year, the college football season was looking like a no-go from the start, but a few conferences started to allow teams to play. And just to show you how much of a leader Justin is, the Big Ten Conference initially wanted to cancel the season, but Justin was vocal in his support of playing the season. And he started an online petition and gathered over 320,000 signatures in support of that goal. He led the hashtag #WeWantToPlay in the efforts to reverse the Big Ten's decision, even though he would have still been a high draft pick without playing the 2020 season. Their voices were heard and they were given the green light to go on and start the season. They got to a late start, but he helped lead the Buckeyes to another undefeated regular season and Big Ten championship game with a 22-10 victory over Northwestern. Despite the difficulties presented by the pandemic, he put up big numbers once again, even with the Buckeyes having 3 games canceled due to health and safety protocols. After the Big Ten championship win, they were back to the playoffs once again, facing Trevor Lawrence and Clemson in the semifinals in back-to-back years. This time, he was out for revenge and claimed his spot over the #1 ranked QB. Early in the game, Justin took a hard hit to the ribs from Clemson's linebacker James Skalski, causing Skalski to get ejected and Fields sitting out a play. But while the pain bothered him for the rest of the game, he threw a touchdown pass on his first play back in action and finished with 6 touchdowns and 385 yards. The Buckeyes advanced to the national championship, where they lost to Alabama 52-24. Then, everyone started to question his ability to play and his decision-making, even though he wasn't fully healthy and able to play to his full potential due to the hit to the ribs against Clemson. He finished the 2020 season with 2,100 passing yards, 22 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and added 380 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. For the second time, he repeated as the Big Ten's Offense Player of the Year and first-team All-Conference. Justin did exactly what was needed to be done after transferring, which left NFL analysts shocked with what they just witnessed in the past 2 years. Going into the 2020 season, Trevor and Justin were considered the top 2 players at their position in the draft, and perhaps even the top 2 players overall. But then, for some strange reason, Justin just started to slide down the mock draft boards. Despite leading the Buckeyes to the national championship and beating Trevor head-to-head, his best game of his career was even against Clemson in the semifinals, 385 passing yards and 6 touchdowns, so there shouldn't have been real questions about his big game performance either. But the old-timer QB that probably holds the record as the worst play ever seen in the NFL.
Here comes Jared Allen, and he's out of bounds. Poor guy, I don't even know if he realized it.
Dan Orlovsky said that he heard that some NFL teams had questions about Justin's real work ethic and that he was always the last guy to show up and the first one to leave.
I have heard that he is a last guy in, first guy out type of quarterback, like not the maniacal work ethic. And I've heard that there are some questions with Justin Fields' work ethic, okay?
Which is all BS because Justin has been dedicated to the sport and perfecting his craft since the 6th grade with his personal trainer, Ron Veal. Plus, his high school coach remembers he would have to turn the lights on at 7 a.m. for Justin to be out there throwing before school started. He wanted to be out there early getting extra work in. He even said that Justin was the best all-around quarterback he coached in his 30 years of coaching.
He's the best quarterback. He's the complete package that I've ever had the opportunity to coach in 30 years of coaching.
Even at Ohio State, he worked hard. He sat in the front row of meetings and he was the last guy to leave the field. Always asked questions and was well ahead in the playbook. So that statement and information that was given by Dan was not well received, which caused him to later clarify his comments and even apologize to Justin on a private phone call.
I've had 2 conversations that I want to put out there to kind of clarify the situation or put more out there about the situation. One conversation I had is with an offensive coach at Ohio State, and he said, tell them that's absolutely not true, that Justin Fields' work ethic is spectacular, that he is a guy that has great football IQ and he's always studying tape. That, like, listen, this guy's always working incredibly hard on the field, and even after we're done with our field drills, he's the guy that wants to stay after.
Even though he's seen 3 quarterbacks go before him, falling to the 11th spot on draft night, he is not the only highly projected potential quarterback to fall in the draft. Dak Prescott went 4th round. Aaron Rodgers, although he still went 1st round, he sat around in the waiting room for a lot longer than anyone had expected. Lamar Jackson was also the last one called in 2018. Patrick Mahomes went 10th pick. Deshaun Watson was 2 picks later with the 12th pick. And last but not least, the GOAT himself, T. Breezy, was the 199th pick 21 years ago. They are all proof that your draft number does not determine your success in the league. Chicago Bears fans seem to be happy for the first time in a long time and just hope he is able to deliver as he is expected to.
I'm the kind of guy that thinks that everything happens for a reason. So I think, this is God's plan for me to be a Bear. So I'm more than excited, and I'm, more than ready to get up there for sure.